Hey, this is Lee and Cooper, and today we're going to try to answer in brief a question that we've been getting from a lot of our commercial tenant clients, which is, I'm liable for this lease. There's obviously all these issues with respect to payment or non-payment of rent. Am I, as the owner, personally liable for the liabilities of the company? And we could probably sit here and talk about this for hours, but there are really two main buckets that concern falls into. The first are good guy guarantees or personal guarantees, which we've covered in prior videos, and I'm sure we'll continue to talk about as the case law surrounding personal guarantees evolves. Second, which we're going to focus on today, is piercing the corporate veil, which is an attempt of a creditor, or in the case of litigation, a plaintiff, to seek to pierce the corporate form and go after the owners directly. And courts look at a number of factors in determining whether or not to pierce the corporate veil. But what it comes down to is domination. They're looking to see whether or not the individuals dominate the corporate form, or in the case of a parent company, the parent company dominates the corporate form. And we're going to just really focus on four factors that you should be on the lookout for, to kind of make sure that you're protecting yourselves, you're insulating yourselves from the liability of the corporation. So Cooper, I think the first one really is corporate formalities and making sure they're followed.
Sure. So, obviously the main reason that you're setting up an LLC or a corporation is to shield yourself from personal liability, which is, really gets to kind of the main reason why it's important that you set it up the correct way. Because if it's not set up the correct way, if you don't have the appropriate documents, if you're an LLC and you never set up an operating agreement, if you're an LLC and you never did publication, if the corporate formalities are not done the correct way, there's going to be a stronger argument for someone to pierce the corporate veil and essentially say that the corporation or the LLC that you created, the company, is essentially a sham and hasn't been done the correct way.
Yeah, so that's a really easy one. Following corporate formalities doesn't require a lot of work. It just requires someone in your company being aware of what you have to do in order to ensure that you're following those formalities.
And just to sort of clarify, no company does everything perfectly, right? Just if you've messed something up here or there in the creation of your documents, that's not gonna be fatal. But if your documents are if there are no documents, and that is going to be fatal. It's kind of on a spectrum.
Yep.
It's not really a yes or a no thing.
The next thing the courts are going to look at is whether or not the company is adequately funded, whether it's adequately capitalized. There needs to be enough in the corporate bank account to pay rent every month, to pay employees, to pay expenses. If the money's coming, and this kind of commingles with commingling, which you're going to get into next. But if the money is coming from other sources, namely you as the individual, much easier for the court to take a look and say, well, this is really the individual who's running this company, not the company.
Yeah. I mean, are you commingling funds or not? Is again, it's not kind of a yes or no thing. But if you're using the corporate bank account to pay your rent, pay for your kids' daycare, pay for all sorts of personal expenses, it's going to be pretty clear that you are commingling your funds. So it's really important that you when you do have a business, and if it is a single member business, that there is really clear delineation between your personal expenses and your business expenses, and those bank accounts are not being, money is not just freely going from one account to the other account.
And by the way, every business is going to need outside money at some point. Most small businesses are going to need outside money to continue to operate. It just comes down to making sure that you're papering that correctly.
Sure.
So when the outside money comes in, it's reflective of whether it's a loan or capitalization. It's just accurately reflected, so it doesn't look like it's just money flowing into the company.
Exactly.
The last piece, which I think kind of overrides all of these, is the company an independent profit center? Is it capable of making money in the accounting world? Is it a going concern? Is the company bringing in money and paying its bills with that money? Like I said before, you might need outside capital. You might need help from the parent company or from an individual in order to make bills every month. But if you're doing that, there's the right way to paper it. But for the most part, you should be treating the business as an independent profit center in order to avoid corporate veil piercing.
Yeah, I think if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out. I think the point that I made earlier is that it really is, you know, courts look at a number of factors. So if you're doing one thing wrong, it doesn't necessarily mean that you do have individual liability. But the argument is going to be stronger if you are doing things wrong. So it's important to sort of think through all these factors and to discuss it with your attorney and protect yourself, because you know, you want to be in front of this stuff. And if you're having this conversation once there's already a lawsuit, then you're going to be in some trouble. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You know how to get in touch with us. And thanks for your time.